And we are live. Did it. Moinsen Whisky-Fans. Für alle, die langsam reinkommen. Es wird noch eine Weile dauern. Die ersten Worte wird keiner hören. Probably. So the first couple of things that I'm saying and you're saying will probably not be heard by many people.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why we have like a 15 minutes easy slide in to the tasting time so everybody can arrive and get comfortable. And both of us can also double check our tech. So there's Jan from the Netherlands. Jan, I'll just put you in so you can see if your mic works. Yeah, or you can, that's perfect. You can switch your mic on for yourself. That's perfect. I'm just adding you to the scene so you can say something and we can see if we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, great.
Awesome. And the same goes for Tom, Whiskey Tom. Mic check.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, we can hear you. Perfect.
Thanks.
Super. Okay, for everybody, later on, we'll, like, all the guests that are here in the StreamYard will mute their mics until they have any questions. Also später einfach dann das Mikrofon muten, bis ihr irgendwelche konkreten Fragen habt. So that's the perfect. Cool. Yes. Ich muss da nochmal gucken, wie wir das mit der Einblendung machen. Ja. Yeah, still onboarding time. Moinsen nach Hamburg. Hey to Hamburg City, not so far from here. And also congrats, Marcus, who's the one who won the tasting glass that I have here also. I have my little High Coast tasting glass. I'm quite happy. I still have it from the festival and the cap. And unfortunately, Marcus, I forgot to put in this thingy, the holder, the festival holder. Sorry about that. But I will send it to you if I, like, for the next tasting, I'll try to remember to send it to you for the next box you will receive. Genau, solange wir noch im Onboarding sind, liebe Grüße, Manni, schön, dass du da bist. Solange wir noch im Plauder- und Onboarding-Bereich sind, ihr kriegt es ja schon mit, das ist ein bisschen anderes Tasting als sonst. Die meisten Tastings, die ich mache, sind ja keine öffentlichen Livestreams und die meisten sind auf Deutsch. Und heute machen wir es gemischt, das heißt, alle, die ein Tasting-Set haben, sind hier und es dürfen auch andere dazukommen und sich das Ganze angucken. Natürlich ist es nicht ganz so spannend, denke ich mal, wenn man die Whiskys nicht im Glas hat, aber es ist einfach ein bisschen schöner, glaube ich, für die Brennerei, die sich hier quasi ja auch zeigt und sich Mühe gibt, dass die dann quasi auch noch außerhalb des Tastings gesehen werden kann. Thomas hier, if Leon is checking the guest list again. Yeah, perfect. Hi Jan, we can see you now also. And ja, das nächste Thema, was natürlich heute auch ein relevantes Thema ist, wir werden das Tasting vor allem auf Englisch machen. Also falls irgendjemand etwas nicht versteht, im Chat, falls ihr dabei seid, gerne einfach kurz ein Ü drücken und senden. Dann sehe ich hier bitte einmal übersetzen. Ich werde heute nicht alles übersetzen, weil das, glaube ich, sonst mein Gehirn zum Explodieren bringt, wenn ich jeden Satz, den Lars sagt, übersetzen werde. So just that you know, Lars, I just told people that we will have this conversation in English. So the poor guy doesn't have to scramble for clues what's going on. And I will not translate everything that we will speak about tonight. But I might jump in now and then to translate some things in German. Yeah. And I told people in the chat that if they need translation, if they're desperate to have a solid translation, then I can always try to do my best to do that. But I think that most things that we will do tonight are pretty straightforward. So we have whiskey, or everybody has the whiskey in front of us, hopefully. And we have all the slides that I will show you. And we have the most important part. Lars, we have you, because you are High Coast tonight. So first of all, welcome. I will welcome you officially when we start, but still welcome here in the stream. I'm really happy that you're here.
Thank you, and nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Lars, do you have any questions before we start?
No, not really. There might be questions coming up along, but
yeah.
Yes, I already have the first question. So what is the lineup? How is the order of the whiskeys?
That is a very good question. Thank you, Tom, for asking that. I actually wanted to change the arrangement down below, and I also changed the arrangement due to Lars' recommendations, because obviously he knows the whiskeys a little bit better than I am, or basically he knows them much better, I think, than I am. So I will put them in the chat, and I will also try to include them in the description. So we will start with the Elf. Second one will be Founder's Reserve, 11-year-old, the unpeated one.
Yep.
Third one will be Half. Then we have the Berg, and the right pronunciations will come from Lars later.
Berg is fine, actually.
Okay, and then we have the 11-year-old special release.
No, was it Timmer, and then?
Ah, yes, of course, yes. That's the change that you made. Perfect. So the Timmer first, and then the special release, 11 years Oloroso Peated. So this is the last one. Perfect. Oloroso Peated. Right. So.
Sorry, can you repeat it one more time?
I will put it in the chat, and I will
okay,
also.
Great.
Yes, but I can repeat it, no problem. So we start with the Elf, number 1.
Yeah.
We have the Founder's Reserve, number 2, the 11-year-old unpeated.
Founder's Reserve?
Yes, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And then we have the Half.
Yeah.
The Berg, number
Yeah.
4. The Timmer, number 5, and the special release 11-year-old Oloroso Peated is number 6.
Okay, great.
So now we have it in the chat also, and I will include it in the description also. If I'm gone for a minute, that might be the case, because then I'll leave here to switch for YouTube description. Let's see if I can actually do both at the same time. Little experiment. Right. So everybody who is watching on YouTube, it should be now possible to read that beneath in the description. So if you click on the link, it should be now also featured down below. Right. Okay, it should be there. Right, perfect. Yes, for everybody who's jumping in right now and who is not part of the tasting, no problem. Feel free to hang out with us. This is a public live stream. We have an online tasting and Malt Mariners online tasting tonight with High Coast, but feel free to hang about and enjoy your whiskey and listen to some stories from Sweden, maybe. Für alle, die jetzt gerade mal reinschauen und dazukommen, wir haben heute ein Online-Tasting, ein High Coast Online-Tasting aus Schweden von High Coast und der Lars Karlsson ist hier aus Schweden. Ich freue mich sehr. Und genau, es ist ein öffentlicher Livestream, also ein privates Tasting für die, die das Set haben, aber jeder, der kein Set hat, darf gerne dabei bleiben und sich einen Whisky einschenken und zuhören. Liebe Grüße nach Düsseldorf, liebe Grüße ins Ruhrgebiet natürlich auch und liebe Grüße nach Bayreuth, die das Tasting nachholen werden. Ich freue mich, ich habe auch schon richtig Bock. Right. Genau. Tom, du hast absichtlich in den privaten Chat geschrieben, ne? Wahrscheinlich mit der Reihenfolge. Weil ich habe gerade gesehen, dass du im privaten Chat nochmal gefragt hattest.
War tatsächlich keine Absicht. Ich habe jetzt erst gesehen, dass es unten Chatten Sie mit allen im Studio auch noch gibt.
Sehr gut, deswegen habe ich gefragt, weil das manchmal ein bisschen verwirrend sein kann, dass man dann schreibt und sich wundert, dass es keiner sieht. Genau. Jetzt muss ich gerade auch erstmal wieder rausfinden, wie ich wieder in den allgemeinen Chat zurückkomme. Es ist immer wieder eine Freude. Technik, die begeistert. So, gleich sind wir soweit. Wir haben heute auch ein sehr internationales Publikum. Jan vertritt ja die Niederlande. Wir haben noch Freunde von mir in Spanien. Hola a España en Asturias. Und sicherlich einige Vertreter aus Deutschland am Start. Also von daher heute schön gemischtes Publikum, um einen tollen Weltwhisky zu verkosten. I'm really happy that we have an international audience tonight. So quite appropriate for Swedish whiskey. And I'm very curious about the feedback from Spain with a quite different palate profile than probably in your area. So okay, it's 7, so I think we can officially start the tasting. Okay, Spain is also listening, perfect. Welcome everybody to the Malt Mariners High Coast Whisky Tasting. I'm super happy that Lars Karlsson joined me tonight from High Coast. And as you can hear, this is a little bit of a different tasting because out of politeness and curiosity, this will be an English-speaking live stream and an English-speaking tasting. As I mentioned before, still, if you need translation, if there will be things that are unclear, please do not hesitate to just comment in the chat, maybe just with a little Ü, so I will try to make this translation. Also für alle, die heute dabei sind, die sich ein bisschen schwer tun mit Englisch oder wenn irgendwas unklar ist, schreibt mir einfach gerne kurz ein kleines Ü in den Chat rein. Dann habe ich ein Signal von, okay, vielleicht sollte ich jetzt gerade mal kurz in die Übersetzung springen. Prinzipiell ist meine Erfahrung, dass zweisprachige Tastings sehr, sehr kompliziert sind. Ich habe das früher gemacht als Tourguide bei Glendronach, habe ich auch teilweise simultan übersetzt. Aber gerade wenn ich da noch 1, 2 Whiskys im Kopf habe, dann wird es auf jeden Fall zunehmend schwieriger, zwischen 2 Sprachen zu springen. Aber es ist natürlich mir besonders wichtig, dass ihr einen schönen Abend habt und dass ihr so viel wie möglich mitnehmt von dem Tasting. Also wenn ihr irgendwie Fragen habt, wenn was unklar ist, auch wenn wir irgendwas wiederholen sollen, dann sagt bitte einfach gerne kurz Bescheid, ist gar kein Problem. I just told people that everybody should jump in, ask questions, try to shape the evening like they feel, and if everything goes, we're quite open for tonight. We have 6 great whiskeys ahead of us. We have a fantastic guest from Sweden with us who will guide us through a lot of nice drinks and share some stories. And I think we have the perfect recipe for a great night. And yeah, Lars, thank you for being here. And I'll give the mic to you first, and then we'll start with our first whiskey tonight.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really happy to be having a tasting like this, so international, from Netherlands and Spain and of course Germany as well, and Sweden. So it's great. Yeah, I will tell you a little bit about myself and a lot about High Coast tonight. So High Coast Distillery was founded in 2010. I've been working here since 2015, but I've been a part of all the bottling since the start, because I have been writing tasting notes for High Coast since the beginning. And I had a lot of different positions in the company. I started as quality manager, handling the quality of the product and what goes into the bottle. And then I took care also, same time, I also took care of Japan and sales in Japan. My wife is from Japan, so I can speak a little bit of Japanese, so it was quite easy to take care of that market. And then it became all of Asia. And since 2 years ago, I handle all exports for High Coast, as well as I also do the quality assessments and the blending for the company. So we are 2 people in High Coast that decides what we put inside the bottle, and it's me and then the master distiller Roger Melander, which I think you had interview with before for your channel, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that was a great experience to share a room with Roger, and it was my first contact with High Coast. So in the first 5 minutes, I did not really know if he doesn't like me or if he is just very, very nerdy in the most positive sense of way.
Yeah.
And now I know it's the second. So he is very passionate and very nerdy. So.
Yeah, I've been working with Roger, and I've been knowing him for 20 years or something, and I still have the same feeling. I don't know if he likes me, but he's very geeky for sure. So I mean, he's a great guy, and very, very important for everything that is High Coast today, because he's the guy that really developed our recipes. And as you will taste tonight, the whiskeys, we do both peated and non-peated whiskey from High Coast. And the non-peated style is a little bit more of a Japanese style whiskey. So we have a little bit longer fermentation time. Normally it's around 82 and a half hour. And we also do the mashing quite slow. And we also distill quite slow. So we don't use any anti-foam or any additives or anything in the distillation process. We do everything the old way of doing, and quite slowly, to really get the quality that we want. So if you ever get to try our new make, you will see that it's very, very drinkable, even as a new make. It's super light and fruity and very, very. It's good even from the beginning. And we also do the peated recipe. And as you can see on our stills, we have the spirit stills is closest here. We have 2 of them, and we have 2 wash stills as well. So we have four stills in total. The spirit still, the one visible here is the one with the boiling bowl in the center. And this type of still is probably a little bit more suited for making non-peated whiskey than making peated whiskey. So we get a very elegant peatedness. Even though we have, normally we try to get 45 ppm malt. We don't have anyone in Sweden that produce that amount of peatiness that we like. So we have to buy it from abroad. So we buy it from Belgium. We bought some from Germany, and we also buy mostly from Scotland.
Yes.
The peated one. For the unpeated, we buy it from Sweden. We have a lot of good fields down in the south of Sweden. A lot of Pilsner made in Germany is actually made from Swedish barley as well. So
while we are talking about the stills, maybe we want to pour the first whiskey so people can smell and have an impression of what you're talking about. So I will pour a little bit of the High Coast Elf, which is the first whiskey we will drink tonight.
Yeah, it's Elvis non-peated whiskey. It's we do this in batches. I'm not sure which batch you have right now, but it's always visible on the back on the label in the back.
Yes.
So I have batch 14 right now, and on our homepage you can find all information about every batch. We are very, very transparent with what we do.
Yes.
We want to educate people, really.
I will just jump in here because personally, this is, in my opinion, one of the great. I mean, there's many good things about High Coast to say from an independent point of view. But one of the things that I personally, as a whiskey geek and a whiskey nerd, and I will definitely explain this in German also because it's very important to me. One of the best things about High Coast is that they are super transparent in their recipes. And I will show you this in a second. Also eine der Sachen, die ich an High Coast am allergenialsten finde, gerade als Whisky-Nerd, als Whisky-Fan, ist, dass sie einfach wahnsinnig transparent sind mit ihren Abfüllungen. Also was Lars gerade gesagt hat, auf den Flaschenrückseiten seht ihr immer Batchnnummern. Und ihr könnt durch diese Batchnummer auf der Website dann quasi wirklich sehr, sehr genau einsehen und verstehen, wie die Whiskys zusammengesetzt sind. Ich werde euch das Beispiel gleich mal zeigen für den Elf, damit ihr sozusagen hier mal direkt ein Beispiel habt. Wir haben jetzt, so we are drinking right now. The whiskey that is in your glass right now is the Elf batch number 5. And this is the recipe which tells you exactly the type of casks which are used. 11 quarter cask, for example, of 130 liter is 31.94%, and 24 barrels with standard barrels, 200 liters, which makes up about 68.51%. So this is like a fully bourbon cask and quarter cask matured whiskey. So I love this. This is something that I really enjoy and really appreciate. Even before tasting the whiskey, this is something that I personally, as a whiskey friend, appreciates before I even have tasted it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we always try to be as transparent as possible. This was one of the things that both me and Roger really lacked before getting the chance to do things our own way. When we tried to find the information back in the days, everyone said, "Oh no, that's a secret. We cannot tell you the cutting points of the distillate." That's our secret. We tell everything on our homepage.
Skål, I would
Skål.
say. I'll take a sip, and I'll just that you see the second sheet the cask details, which gives you exactly the details about the cask. So this is super nerdy stuff. So I love every page of this. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. We both me and Roger are really old whiskey geeks. I've been collecting whiskey and enjoying whiskey for half my life at least, so more than 20 years now, and it's really fun to be able to make whiskey the way that I like it. And Elf is really one of the styles of whiskey that I personally really love. This is what we do most of: non-peated whiskey maturing on bourbon barrels.
Yes.
It's perfect for drinking as it is, but it's also very good for using in other whiskeys. You will see most of the whiskeys we try tonight have some part of them with bourbon casks inside, because it's so easy to mix it together with other things without getting some tough notes from the really spicy wood or really heavy sherry notes from. It's quite hard to get them to really mix together, but everything works with bourbon cask more or less. You get the vanilla, you get the coconut, and you get the nice mouthfeel. So it's a really good cask to work with. I also personally think that our non-peated recipe shines through quite well in this Elf. I get quite a lot of pear, and this is something we get from the fermentation. We use a French distillery yeast called Fermentis M1. I know a couple of more distilleries that use it, but it's not very common because it gives a little bit lower yield, so we don't get as much alcohol as we could get from a more distillers yeast or something that is designed just to give the biggest yield as possible, but we get a lot of flavor. The long fermentation hours also helps us to develop a little bit of citrus notes, which I also can find in Elf here, almost like a little bit of the Earl Grey bergamot tea vibe in the finish.
Yeah, the bergamot is something that I can very much connect to, like in my head. It's like I think this is also very interesting, and also something that I stress a lot in tastings, that tasting notes are very subjective, personally and individual. But obviously, it helps a lot to sometimes have a bit of guidance. Like the Elf says, delicate vanilla on the label of this one. So it gives you the idea that this is basically, I would say, the perfect entrance into High Coast, because it's the cleanest and most pure version, in my personal opinion. Because bourbon casks, as you mentioned, are I'm a big fan of bourbon casks, and I would love to have every distillery in the world one version of their whiskey which is purely bourbon cask, because I feel that is the most authentic version of that whiskey, so to speak. Not the best in terms of quality or taste, because that's personal, but just in terms of, okay, this is our benchmark, and from there on we can play around. You will taste a lot of different whiskeys tonight, and you will see the differences with the cask influence, and I think this is a great benchmark for everything.
Yeah, and I really agree with that as well. It's quite hard to make a young whiskey with non-peat on bourbon cask. It's one thing that we really we're able to do it a lot because of our climate up here in the High Coast. We have very cold winters and quite warm summers, so we get a lot of temperature variation and a lot of things happening inside the cask. So we get a lot of fruitiness or esters inside the spirit that goes into the wood and reacts with the wood and then goes back. And this happens every day, more or less, even during winter, where we can have minus 30 degrees in the nights, and then it goes up to maybe minus 5 or something. So this 25 degrees change make a pressure change inside the cask, and the whiskey gets expanded and takes more space when it gets warm. So it happened a lot for us all year round here, and we don't get a super high angel share. We still get a lot of, if we compare to like Amrut in Bangalore in India, they have super warm all year round, and they lose a lot in angel share. Same for Kavalan. They get a really fruity and really nice whiskey, but the angels are really thirsty in these countries. For us, we still have an angel share around 2% a year, which is quite decent. Normally they say it's 2% in Scotland as well. It's lower, but it's deductible up to 2%. So it's very easy to, everyone has 2%. For us, we have around 2% in big cask or 100 liter. And in smaller cask, we have a lot of customer casks, around 40-liter casks. And in those, it's around 4.5 to 5% angel share. Yeah, here you can see a lot of our customer casks that we have. And we have a lot of different variations. There's bourbon and different types of new oak, and we have some Islay casks and rum casks, and even square cask. You can see a couple of them lying there in the middle. So we have tried a lot of different things, and we sold more than, I think it's around 10,000 customer casks now for private customers that want to have their own whiskey, 40-liter whiskey. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email and we can take it from there. It's easy. Yeah, that's Elv. Did you like it? You can write in the chat if you think it was.
Are you asking me or the
yeah, or the chat?
Yes. Let's ask everyone basically.
Yeah. It's always
Just,
nice to see.
Rearrange here the pictures.
Yeah. I can before we start with the next whiskey, I will tell you a little bit about the history of the High Coast and the High Coast area, because the next whiskey we will try is really a historic whiskey for us. High Coast was founded in 2010, as I said before, and it was founded by 6 people that lived in this area. You can see this brick building with the chimney in the back here. That's the distillery, and this was an old. Here you have it. This building is the only building that was here before we came here. So it's built in the end of the 18th century, and it was used as power plant in the beginning, to give the timber sorting placement outside in the river electricity, so they could work in the night as well. But it was not used for almost 75-80 years. So it was in the 1990s the local artist bought this house from the municipality, and he's an artist. So he used it as an art hall, and he had to renovate it a lot, put in new windows and change a lot of the bricks. But he was running this as an art hall up until 2005, when he and his brother went to Scotland. And when they came home from Scotland, they had the idea to make a distillery instead, because it was hard to get people up here in this area. We're quite out in the nowhere, more or less. We are 500 kilometers north of Stockholm, and it's a really beautiful place in Sweden called the High Coast area. And as you know, we are called High Coast. We haven't always been called High Coast, because when they started the distillery, this place where we're situated, there used to be a sawmill before they built this power plant. And this sawmill produced wooden crates for the English market. And a wooden crate is called a box. So they call this sawmill the box sawmill. This one burned down in 1899, and then they built the brick building to give power to the timber sorting. And the name box is still used here. So every day I go to box, because this area is called box.
So the whole area is named Box then.
Yes, this like small half island where we're situated, that's the box.
Yes.
But
I'll just quickly translate this one, because I think this is fascinating, and this was my first contact with Box Whisky then and High Coast then. Also die High Coast Brennerei heißt ja heute High Coast, früher hieß sie aber Box, weil in die ganze Region Box genannt wurde aufgrund der Sägemühle, die dort ansässig war. Also der Name Box stammt sozusagen von der Sägemühle beziehungsweise eben dem Produkt, das damals dort erstellt worden ist. Since when is the distillery named High Coast?
2018, we changed the name, and it was because of a legal dispute which we had with Compass Box.
Yes.
They reached out to us and said our names are too similar, so you need to change the name. And we had already protected the name all over the world, so we just sent them, no, if you want to change your name, you can change your name. That's not a problem from us. And then it came another letter, and they said, we're owned by Bacardi, right? So we changed our name to High Coast Distillery instead of getting into a fight with one of the big dragons in the industry. And looking back now, it was the best thing we could do, because Box is not a very selling name. High Coast sounds much more like a whiskey name. So I think it was really, really good. And the area where we're situated, if we look at the bigger area, that's the High Coast of Sweden,
yes.
or
yes.
Höga Kusten in Swedish.
Yeah, I personally, first of all, I take the freedom to allow people to drink the second one.
Yeah, everybody myself.
Yeah, everybody feel free to, obviously don't wait for us to drink, because we are focusing much more on talking. Just smelling this one, and I absolutely love the nose on this. So this is basically my personal second favorite whiskey of this tasting, especially on the nose. But I don't want to cut you off in terms of the whole explanation.
That's fine.
Just to give you like a personal feedback from like a customer, or like a person that is very nerdy and also has a lot of experience in whiskey marketing from that perspective. I personally think that High Coast is the much better name for your distillery than Box, because I think Box didn't really tell people very much about the surroundings. I understand a lot why you did it, because for you it has a lot of meaning.
Yeah.
But for everybody who's not from the area, nobody knows what it means. And I think that High Coast is creates a bit more image in my head. Although when I heard the name for the first time, I thought it was a Scottish distillery.
Yeah.
But
we get that a lot. But the High Coast is actually the name of this area as well, and it's because of the land rise. So the ice pressed down during the Ice Age, and every year the mountains get higher. So it's the highest coast in the world, or the highest shoreline, yes. 184 meters or so. It's been going up since the Ice Age.
But I think, like, I had the great pleasure to visit you guys with my camper van, which is quite a drive, but I enjoyed every minute. It's a quite beautiful drive up there also. And I really enjoyed when I came there, I enjoyed to see Höga Kusten is actually a place which the distillery is named after also.
Yeah.
but it makes a little bit more sense to me in my head that it's named like this and not Bock. But just I feel it's a bit like how do you say you break something and make something new, which is even better than before.
Yeah.
But for you, it must have been a real pain in the ass.
The biggest pain was we had our old bottles. I don't think I have one here, but I had the L here. The old bottles we had said box on the labels as well.
Yes.
It's also imprinted in the glass. It says box in the glass. And we had 400,000 bottles left that we were thinking to maybe send down to Compass Box just as a small token of appreciation or something. But it ended up in the what do you call it? Grüne Punkt in German, I think. Instead.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Absolutely. So for everybody who's sipping the High Coast Founders Reserve, I think it's appropriate to introduce this one a little bit because it has a bit of a higher ABV, 50.3%. And yeah, spoiler alert, I love this whiskey. But this is just my personal opinion. Obviously, everybody should have their own. But I'm just a sucker for bourbon casks. So I'll show you the insights, but Lars will have to translate because they're in Swedish. So we can all together learn a little bit of Swedish tonight.
That's perfect. Yeah. So this is basically a mix between non-peated and peated whiskey. So 76.7% is non-peated whiskey, matured on bourbon and new American oak casks. And 23.3% is peated whiskey, matured on bourbon cask. So it's 54.1% that is bourbon cask and 45.9% new American oak. That's the recipe in total. And you can also see here below this, we say that Founders Reserve is not cool. We don't do any chill filtration or coloring. And we don't do that on any of our whiskey.
Yes.
And below this, you can also see the thing that no one really tells you. This is the recipe when we distill. So we can see that orökt, that's non-peated. So the non-peated recipe and the first cut in distillation, we run the 4 shots for 13 minutes, and for peated we run it for 30 minutes. And the second cut is for non-peated, 67% ABV. And for peated, 60% ABV. So we basically move the cutting points from going very fruity in the non-peated, and then we delay everything. So we go 30 minutes, 4 shots, and down to 60% instead of 67, just to get more of the heavy peaty notes, phenols. It's called in English. But it's a really, really well balanced whiskey, I think.
I really got to show you guys this. This is something that I very much appreciate. Like, my personal taste is very much subtle. There's a bottle. It says High Coast Founders Reserve, and you can barely see. It's actually, my camera will probably not be able to pick this up. Down there is a little copper writing, says 11 years. And this is a very, very subtle fact, because we're talking about this whiskey and we're talking about the recipes and the cut points and everything. Perfect. Lars has a better camera here. So Lars, you should be the influencer then. You have a better camera for live stream. So it's an 11-year-old Swedish whiskey, and that is quite astonishing. Because European whiskey tends to be very young for good reasons, because obviously every distillery in Europe that has not 50, 60, 70 years of experience and time to age their casks will be unable, or it's quite expensive to release a cask that has a double-digit number of years. So this is also not a budget whiskey. I think the retail price right here is, I think, 128 euros, and it is half a liter. So this is the most expensive whiskey we're drinking tonight, compared to all the other bottlings. But I personally really like this, and I really appreciate this opportunity to try and taste a whiskey that is aged over 10 years from Sweden, because it's quite rare. And I understand the discussion around prices, but Scandinavia has generally a just much higher impact, cost impact, I think. I mean, you can tell us more about this, but I personally feel that I really appreciate the price policy of High Coast, because all the standard bottlings tonight will be roughly 64 euros, and they're all 70 CL in Germany.
Yep.
And I can mention this right now, all the bottles that I have that you are drinking tonight, in theory, you can also buy those from me, because I have some here for a tasting that is coming up soon. After the tasting, there will probably not be any more here, because I'm not a retailer. I'm just I do tastings and events. But just in case you come across a whiskey tonight, you say, I want to have this, and I want to support Malt Mariners, you can also write me an email and purchase the bottle from here. But I bought these bottles also because I feel they're very much value for the price. And I really appreciate that, because it's not that easy for you guys to do that, as I'm quite aware, to release on this price level.
Yeah, it's something that we struggle with all the time. Of course, we get more and more older whiskey every day in the warehouse. So my job as a blender gets more and more easy every day, but it's still quite expensive. Just looking at cask, buying casks increase every year. Buying malt gets more and more expensive. So it's something that it's really hard to keep the price down. But we have always had a thought that High Coast should be available for everyone. So it's not something that only rich people, so to speak, should be able to buy. We want everyone to be able to drink and enjoy this lovely Swedish whiskey. So that's really our main price point when we do something. So, and
Yeah.
we do things in lower price, and we do things in higher price, but always with a focus on quality. And like one of the things, we never go below 46%. We always have 46 as the lowest, because this is also one of the statements, because if you go below 46%, it's possible to do filtration. Then you can freeze the whiskey, so you can remove a lot of the fats from the whiskey, so it doesn't get cloudy when you put water or ice inside it. But for us, it's just removing a lot of flavors if you do this. So we try to be as transparent and do things the right way in our mind. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I will translate this, because I think this is also a very important point of your policy. I think it's also a little bit controversial, because some whiskey producers might have a different opinion about this.
Ja.
But High Coast hat sich dazu verpflichtet, mehr oder weniger, oder sagt, dass sie grundsätzlich keinen ihrer Whiskys unter 46 Volumenprozent abfüllen. Für die Whisky-Nerds unter euch ist das sicherlich kein Geheimnis, aber ich sage es trotzdem mal für diejenigen, die vielleicht nicht so ganz im Thema sind, was das Thema Kühlfilterung angeht. Whisky, der nicht kühlgefiltert ist, kann eintrüben, wenn man kaltes Wasser oder Eis hinzugibt. Und wenn der Whisky unter 45 Volumenprozent sinkt, dann wird er trüb und kann auch trüb bleiben oder kann Schwebstoffe entwickeln, die dann im Whisky ersichtlich sind. Und es kann eben stören. Und die meisten Brennereien, die ihren Whisky unter 46% abfüllen, aus dem Grund kühlfiltern den Whisky. Da wird durch Papierfilter gepresst, also vorher runtergekühlt, Papierfilter gepresst und bleibt danach klar. Und dieser Prozess entfernt aber gewisse Fette und Öle, die zum Teil eben auch Geschmacksträger sind. Und viele in der Whiskybranche diskutieren darüber, ob man das überhaupt wahrnimmt oder nicht. Aber High Coast ist hier eben überzeugt davon, dass es hier keinen Sinn macht oder dass sie nicht irgendwas aus ihrem Whisky entfernen wollen, was möglicherweise auch ein Geschmacksträger ist oder was zum Mouthfeel oder zum zur Viskosität beiträgt. Und deswegen haben sie eben gesagt, dass sie erstmal keinen Whisky unter 46% abfüllen und botteln. So that's basically the German translation for what you just said. So I really appreciate the fact that you have anything between 46 and roughly 50, which is my sweet spot. I'm not a huge fan of super cask strengthy whiskeys like 60 plus. But I think you found a really sweet spot for nerdy stuff. You know, you're kind of in the perfect area for whiskey enthusiasts, I think, to have a good drinking strength. We will drink the half in a minute with 48% and the Berg with 50%. So they're all standard bottlings. They're not exclusive limited releases, but they have a high ABV, and I think it's a really, really good thing. And while you mentioned the range, while we're talking about the good price value on the most expensive whiskey in this tasting, it's also important, I think, to mention, even though we don't have this whiskey right now in the tasting, that you just released, which underlines what you just said, the Aurora, which is, I think, roughly about 45 euros in Germany, if I'm not wrong, right?
I think it's actually 39.95 at the moment in many places.
Yes.
And it's a little bit younger than the Elf is around 8 years nowadays when we bottle it, 7.5 to 9 years, so 8 approximately, and the Aurora is around 6.5 to 7.5 year old. Looks like this bottle.
Yeah, well, I'll just give you a full screen. So
Yeah,
there you are.
It's a 70 cl bottle. I quite like it, as you can see. I've been eating it a little bit. 46% ABV. It's a mix of bourbon and sherry cask, 50-50. And the sherry cask is 15% first fill Oloroso and 35% second fill PX. And then it's also around 5% peated malt inside. So it's just a hint of peatiness inside. That also helps to give it a little bit covering of the edges when it's a little bit younger. So it's quite, if you have the chance, it's well worth the money. So try to get one and try it.
I can
agree. I can buy it from you. I promise.
Pardon?
If they don't like it, I will buy it from them.
I had the chance to try it on the festival, so I really enjoyed this one. It's basically, it feels a bit like, this is like a quintessential. It feels like a combination of the Elf, the Berg, and the Half. So it's like in the middle of all of these three.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Half, I think now it's time to jump in the third whiskey tonight, and this is the Half, the High Coast Half, which is undoubtedly my favorite whiskey of High Coast at the moment, from the core range particularly, but I think it's actually my favorite bottling of all. No pressure.
No.
But this is just basically made for me. This is exactly the whiskey I like.
I think you like a little bit of spicy whiskey.
Yeah, yes.
And in here you can find some wood spice.
Absolutely.
This is a mix of bourbon casks, and we also mix in Swedish oak, Hungarian oak, some American oak sometimes, and we also had in some of the batches, it's also a little bit of Mongolian oak sometimes, but most of the times it's Hungarian and Swedish oak that gives the spicy notes.
Yes.
And the thing with this one is we don't have a good word for it in English, and I haven't found a good one in Swedish either. But normally everyone drinking whiskey knows what a finish is. When we have like a bourbon cask for 5 years, and then we put it into a spicy something Swedish oak for 6 months just to get some spicy notes and a little bit of color. In this whiskey, we have done it the other way around. We sell a lot of customer cask, 40-liter casks, and we always, when it's new oak, since they're so small and we get so much connection with the wood, we need to pre-fill them before we let the customer fill the cask with their new make.
Yes.
So we always fill the cask when it arrives to us with a new make for 6 to 8 months, and then we transfer it to bourbon barrels, this whiskey. And then the customers can fill the small cask and buy it and use it. And this whiskey that is inside the bourbon barrels, it gets to mature and mellow a little bit slower. Still got a lot of punch from the tannins in the new oak, but we get to mellow it down. So it's like a pre-maturation, or what we should call it. It's not a finish, it's done before. But if you have a good word for it, hit me up, because we're looking for
Yeah,
it.
sorry, I don't have a good word for it. I'm just loving the fact that you explain this, because I have been working in the whiskey industry for 11 years now, and I just understood the concept that you are doing with this whiskey. I think like a half a year ago or a year ago, when I talked to somebody about buying casks for aging at home, because I never was interested in this concept until I finally thought about, well, I'll just ask people how they do it.
Yeah.
And then they explained to me that you have to sort of, I mean, I knew that you need to sort of draw tannins from the wood before you actually do it, but it was like an information on the drive-by. So my brain just forgot about this completely. And Millstone in the Netherlands, for example, here we go again, Netherlands, they use their new casks and put Geneva in them. And then they empty it, and then they put new mixed spirit from the whiskey in it. So they draw the tannins with the Geneva out of it, and then sort of they're ready for the whiskey. And I just love the fact that you use this natural process that is necessary for preparing the cask and also making something with your whiskey, because a lot of people will fill it with just bland spirit and pour it away, I think. So
or even water is quite common.
Okay.
To rinse them with water and just extract very quickly a lot of things from the oak. The thing is, you can spoil the barrels quite easily if you put water inside. It smells like an old sneaker or something, the water and the barrel, and I would not want my whiskey inside that type of cask. So it's much better to use high ABV, which is much more pure. So a vodka or whatever is very good. Or like we used the new make for some months in the small cask. For bigger cask, when we know that this will sit in the warehouse for a longer time, then it's not a problem, because time really take care of all this purification as well.
Yeah.
But for small cask, it gets so woody so fast if we don't do it this way.
Yeah. It's great. I just love this one. It's 48% ABV. To me, person as like a real fan of spicy and slightly peaty whiskey, but I don't like this 100% super. I mean, from day to day, I like to have a Port Charlotte or something like that. But this is a whiskey that, if I would be allowed to create a whiskey, I think this is the whiskey I would make. So, like, I really enjoy this. This is like almost like a Swedish version of Ben Romack to me, like a slight peat note, a lot of maltiness, a lot of fruitiness, and just dangerously zippy. Like for 48%, this is a very drinkable whiskey to my taste.
I totally agree, and this is also a whiskey that a lot of people that like to smoke cigars, it works really well with a cigar.
Yeah.
I've been experimenting a lot with different spiciness, because often you want some spiciness to pair it with a cigar, and Swedish and Hungarian oak works really, really well. You get those spicy notes like nutmeg and what do you call it, clove, from this type of oaks. It's also working really, really well for highballs. In Asia, they love to drink highballs, so put soda water and ice inside. It's super, super nice when it's warm outside to have a nice cold highball, and the spiciness and the slight peatiness also helps it to really feel that this is a whiskey. So it's really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, I don't smoke cigars. I'm like old screw that. When I smoke, I smoke cigarettes. So I don't really. But I understand that people like to do this combination. And yeah, I personally I'm a sucker for this. So there's no working around this one. So to me, this is a perfect whiskey. And
It feels a little bit like a old style whiskey, I would say.
Yeah.
It's almost like some really, really high-end blend, even from like the 60s, 70s, where you get a lot of fruitiness and a slightly peatiness inside. And it's something I really enjoy myself. So Hav is one of my favorites, and it's really, really fun to create it because every batch is a little bit different. This one is the one that really differs a little bit between the batches. The color can differ, and also the ingredients is a little bit different. In
batch
between.
6, by the way, we're drinking batch 6. I'm not sure if I wrote this one on the small bottles you have, but I'm just putting in half batch. Is it? Yeah, it's on there, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Batch
Yeah.
6. Because I personally, like I said, I really appreciate doing this, the batch to batch thing. So people have the possibility to know if they're buying the same whiskey again.
Yeah.
And now you mention it, there might be slight variations. I should probably put 1 or 2 bottles aside because I actually sold all of these. I only have 1 bottle open here for drinking, so I might have to talk to Florian to send me another box of this one because I really like this one, and I will definitely use this. So
I just checked the batch 6, and the batch 6 was done only in 70 cl bottles. We did 10,874. It's 11 ppm in the malt. The youngest whiskey is 5.96 years, and the oldest is 8.93. So the average age is 7.2. And it's bourbon, Swedish oak, Hungarian oak, American oak, and Mongolian oak inside.
awesome.
So it's a mix of
Yeah.
a lot of different.
Yeah, there's also the Mongolica whiskey of you guys. I think this is the only whiskey that could compete with my personal palate with the half. I feel like it's the high-end version of the half.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one too. But usually I would probably be criticizing you a little bit about having so many different bottlings because I personally, as a taster, it's a real pain in the ass if you have a distillery that has like 100,000 different bottling versions. But I think you made it up pretty well for just having a core range, like having a decent core range with the 4 we're drinking right now. I think this is a really good representation. Bourbon, sherry, spice, peat, perfect. So you have like these 4 entry-level whiskeys, and now you have the Aurora, which is maybe like a bit of a flagship standard, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you have 100 million different other things. For the metal fans out there, there is an In Flames bottling, which I really love. Like there's different specials from In Flames. I haven't tried any, but I would say maybe we have a little break now because we have 3 whiskeys, and I think it's a perfect time now to have a little break, and then we can start over with the number 4 with the Berg.
Yeah, that's perfect.
How is everyone feeling? Maybe like it's 5 minutes enough? Does anybody want to go out for a smoke? 5 minutes is enough. Yeah, Jan says 5 is enough. I personally could go on and just keep drinking. So I think 5 minutes should be enough. That's everybody who's not in the live stream with us can switch on and off anyways. So I think 5 minutes should do. So let's meet here at in 5 minutes.
That's great.
Cool.
I saw we had some questions we maybe need to answer.
I just saw that Jan wrote this in the private chat.
Yeah.
There's a private chat function in this broadcasting studio, and I'm sometimes missing when people write in there. So I just texted him, so maybe he can find the public version, but I copied and pasted his question. So when we are all back, you can maybe jump into that.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And I will certainly show people some pictures of your beautiful visitor center, because I think this is just an absolute pleasure to
it's
be there and eat there. Especially your restaurant is absolutely mind-blowing.
really, really nice.
Yeah,
I thought I thought I know that name Box.
Oh yeah.
there
Nice.
you go.
Private
Nice.
bottling. Some Swedish friends sent to me.
Oh, that's good.
Awesome.
Nice. Good friends.
Yeah, that's important, huh?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, I just thought we start the second part of our tasting with a little look around in the visitor center and the restaurant. And I think that High Coast has a fantastic view, as you can see from the restaurant in the visitor center. It's an absolute stunning view. And there's also an upstairs area, so you can look down into the restaurant. And it's just a really, really nice place. And for everybody who likes to travel and has been visiting maybe an Irish or a Scottish distillery, personally, I feel that High Coast is the absolute perfect spot to visit a Swedish distillery, because there are not so many Swedish distilleries you can actually visit. And not many of them has a visitor center. So this is a really good spot. But also, Lars, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, because I think we cannot do a Swedish tasting without telling people about your special needs government policy about selling alcohol. So what happens when I walk into your visitor center? What can I not buy there?
You can, of course, try our whiskey on site. We're allowed to serve everyone that comes. You can see here we have a really nice bar, but we are not allowed to sell bottles directly to consumers. It's only the Systembolaget in Sweden, the monopoly stores, that can sell high ABV alcohol. They've changed it a little bit last year. So if you're a really, really small producer, you can sell directly. But we are by far Sweden's biggest distillery. We produce more than all the other Swedish distilleries do combined.
Yes.
We produce around 300,000 liters of pure alcohol every year. So it's quite a big capacity we have.
Which is always interesting to put this in context. When you say big, that is almost the size of Edredauer in Scotland, which used to be the smallest distillery in Scotland.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're a little bit bigger, so not the smallest anymore. But when people think about a big distillery, then they might think of Macallan or Glenfiddich, which do like 25 million liters a year.
Yeah.
So you are still a relatively small distillery in the scale of global distilleries, but for Scandinavia or even a European distillery, I think you're a pretty decent and pretty big.
Yeah, I would say so as well. The main difference between the bigger distilleries in Scotland is most of what they do is not intended for single malt; it's intended for blended whiskey.
Yes.
Then you can do a lot and sell it in bulk. Pour some Berg as well. But all we do is single malt whiskey. We only do single malt whiskey at High Coast.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and I think you're right up there in the ball game of, I would say, the new era of whiskey distilleries in terms of new world whiskey distilleries, which is funny because when I love to talk about world whiskey, I'm a huge fan of world whiskey, But I feel that distilleries like Lochlee or maybe even Daftmill, or you might even count Kilchoman inside in this category of new distilleries. I mean, most of these guys are focusing on, you know, the nerdy part, the non-blended whiskey industry, and trying to reach out to the nerds. And I think, honestly, I think it's not that easy to do that, because, you know, the market is quite limited.
Yep.
The market has gone, I wouldn't say to shitspill, but certainly in a bad direction for the last couple of years. So it's a tough situation for everybody out there who's making whiskey, who loves whiskey, who wants to sell whiskey, who wants to do whiskey tasting. So everybody who's working in the industry has a really tough time right now. So I think this is also something that many people don't really know, that is very problematic right now to be in the whiskey industry. And I think everybody who is in the whiskey industry and can make a living from that is in a very good position. So before we everybody can dive into the Berg. So this is like the sherry cask focus one, and we'll talk about it in a second. But Lars, I would really like to hear your personal take on the situation right now. Has High Coast, like, what is the situation for High Coast right now in this international business? Like, would you say you guys also are suffering? Are you in trouble, or is it like, how do you position yourself while the market around you is shaking, basically?
It's shaking for everyone, I would say. It's really, really tough times when prices have gone up for many, many years for whiskeys, and right now a lot of the sales have stopped in a lot of the new whiskey countries. China, for instance, used to be a huge market for us.
Yes.
Last year, I think we sold 20% of what we did the year before or something. So, and this year, I don't think we have had any orders from China. So it's basically stopped, and prices have gone from quite high for whiskey down to really, really low. So a lot of Scottish big owners, Diageo, Edrington, also Suntory from Japan.
Yes.
They're really killing the market at the moment because they want everyone to keep drinking their whiskey. So they are lowering the prices down to really, really low, where no one can compete. So it's impossible to sell in some of these aspects. And the other thing that is really, really hard is, and we can see this in the German market, for instance, and we see it in Sweden as well. There is so many new distilleries in all over the world, and people tend to like whiskeys from their area.
Yes.
So German people buy a lot more German whiskey than they buy whiskey from Belgium or Netherlands or Sweden, just because it's German, not
Yes.
because it's better or anything, just because it's German. And same in Sweden. Our biggest market is Sweden. We sell around 55% of everything we sell in Sweden. So it's a very important market for us. And of course it is where people buy it just because it's Swedish and they want to support the Swedish whiskey. So this is some of the things that is hard at the moment, but we still are a little bit in a better position than the really new whiskey distilleries, because we started 5-6 years before the real whiskey boom, when a lot of new distilleries opened.
Yes.
We already have built a stock, and we already have some money in the bank which we can use during harder times. So for us, it's of course shaky, but not in the same way as it is for many of the newer distilleries that will close. Basically, we already see it happening in many places, that a lot of distilleries stop production and they're closing just because it's cost too much money to produce and they are not sure if they can sell it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like the gold digger age of whiskey is over, in terms of, not generally that I mean that you cannot make money from making whiskey, but I feel this feeling of you can just throw something on the market and make a lot of money with it, no matter how much effort you put into it. I think this is over. And that means that people that don't know really much about whiskey and invest a lot of money into whiskey because they can make a very easy profit, they are drawing out of the market right now, probably, which is a bad thing on one hand, because there's less money to play with. But on the other hand, I really hope that this will lead to quality surviving. So I'm more than happy that we have this night tonight to taste some of your whiskey, which I wouldn't do if I wouldn't be 100% convinced that this is a really good brand and a really good distillery to share the story with. And I really hope that these brands can persevere, that show effort and show transparency and show also trust in the consumer to support people and distilleries that give a lot of information to people, that are not chill filtering, that are not coloring their whiskey. So, because this is all like you said before, this is education. You have to tell people that this is a good thing.
Yeah.
And if people don't know this, you have to repeat this over and over. And I think it's great that you show all this intel. Like we're drinking right now, the Berg. We can switch to the Berg right now.
Yep.
So this is once again we're drinking a whiskey that usually would tell us on the label, this is a sherry cask finish. That's it. That's the information you would usually get from a whiskey of this type of whiskey. And what you guys are doing is that you're showing us like we are drinking batch number 14. So we have the batch number 14. And so basically we can now look at the stats here. I'm not sure if this is actually the right
I think that's actually for batch number 1, I would guess. But for batch 14, it was we put it into bottle in May 2024.
Yes.
And we did around 17,000 bottles. And it's 7.48 years old up until 8.21 years old. So average age is 7.69 years.
Yes.
And like we said before, from the beginning when we did Berg, we did it as a finish. So we had it into bourbon cask, and then we poured it into PX sherry cask, sweet wine sherry cask, and let it sit for 2 to 3 years. So it was around 7-8 years old when we bottled it. This whiskey was so hyped, and people just love this whiskey. This is what we sell most of. And when we started this collection, the 4 whiskeys that we are trying tonight, among the 6 whiskeys that we call the origins. So we tried the Elv, the non-peated on bourbon, and we tried the Hav, the slightly peated one with the spicy notes. And now we try the Berg, and later we will try the Timber as well. When I made these 4 whiskeys in a collection, I wanted to highlight different styles we do at High Coast, and also different cask we can use. And also we try to name the whiskeys to give a picture of the area. So Elv means river in Swedish, and Berg is same in German, Berg, and Hav is ocean, and then Timber is timber. And this is really what this area has been living off. The river is like the nerve in the country here. It's Sweden's biggest river, called Ångermanälven. It's what we use.
Which one means sea? The
Sea
Hav?
Sea is Hav, yeah.
And Timber is
Timber.
Timber, yeah.
And this is really the area of the High Coast. We have the mountains, we have the sea, we have the river, and timber is what this area is alive of. Back in the days, there used to be 100 different sawmills around the river. Today there is only one, and they produce more logs than the 100 did 100 years ago because of industrialization, of course. But We always want to use the history and use the location for our whiskies as well. But for Berg, it was so popular. So when we started this, we only had it in 70 cl bottles. And I was counting on maybe selling around 3,000 bottles every month, which would be quite a lot for us back then. And the first 2 months, we sold more than, I think it was 6,000 to 8,000 bottles every month. So what I had put aside to last for 1 year was sold out in 3 months. So then we need to do batch number 2, and we saw, okay, yeah, if we make this, we will not be able to make batch number 3 in 3 years, which we thought. We have to do it in 6 months. And to be able to solve the problem, really, it's a good problem to have, to sell too much, but it's still a problem. We needed to change the recipe a little bit, and we also reduced the bottles, and we stopped selling abroad. So for 4 years, you could only have Berg in Sweden, and we made it into 50 cl bottles instead of 70 cl bottles. Still kept the price, and it still sold as much as it did before. But now we are going back and going more and more into export markets, because we have been able to build a stock. So now we have it in other countries as well. It's very, very easy drinking whiskey. A lot of people that don't like whiskey, they like this one because it's sweet.
Yes.
It's really nice sweetness.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we take bourbon cask whiskey and PX cask whiskey, and we mix them together. So if we look at the label and the carton for this batch, it's same as you have as well. It doesn't say finish in PX. It says a mix of bourbon cask and PX cask. So it's mixed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's quite nice. A lot of dried fruits and yeah.
Yeah, it's a badass sipping whiskey also. Like, I'm not really a big fan of sweet whiskey, but this one I can sip easily, and it's quite funny because the Berg is, just from the way it's made, my least profile whiskey, since it's PX sherry, which is my least favorite sherry cask, and it's quite sweet. But in this case, I just feel like it's super easy and very nice, and it's like I really enjoy this one also. So I very much understand why a lot of people like this and bought this. We had an exhibition in Germany, and I think the Berg and the Half were the ones that went out the best also. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's very, very easy drinking, and it's still 50% ABV, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
And you cannot really feel the ABV. So,
my glass is empty.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just got to keep a little bit.
Yeah, it's a nice easy drinking whiskey.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just checking if there is.
Should we maybe go back to some of the questions we got before?
Did you answer Jan's question about the cask? He asked. You recognize it's the same distillery. Is that earthy, what you smell, typical for High Coast?
For me, I can get a little bit of different things as like a distillery character. I would say I always find a little bit of pear, almost gooseberry in our non-peated whiskey.
Yeah.
I can find a little bit of the pear also in the peated whiskey, but it's more obvious in the non-peated whiskey. I have heard people mention the earthy notes before. for me, it's not something that I really typical think of when I drink a High Coast. But like we said before, everyone has their own taste buds, and the most important thing is if you feel that it's an earthy whiskey or earthy note inside, and you think that this is a type of High Coast, then it is for you. I will not disagree with you, but for me, it's the fruity notes that I can really set aside High Coast from some other distilleries.
Yeah, I mean, if Jan wants, he can also comment on this. But personally, I feel that I would also agree with an earthy note on the half and the Founders Reserve 11 years old, because I think because of the slight peat content, I personally also feel there's like a little bit of a herbal, heathery, woody type of flavor in there. With the non-peated versions like the Elf and the Berg, I personally would not have this flavor. But like you said, it is a personal taste and it's a personal impression. So yeah, certainly can also agree on what you said.
And like I said, it's not the first time I hear it. I've heard it before, that people find our whiskey to be a little bit like earthy, almost like a little bit like soil, almost like very almost dense in the nose. But for me, it's the fruitiness that sets it aside for me. That
Yeah.
I can say, oh, this is one of our whiskeys.
And he also asked, how long do you advise to keep the spirit in a 40-liter cask? That's so small, it can easily go too fast, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is a very good question, because it depends a lot on what type of cask it is. We have recommendations that we put up for our customers. So if it's a new oak cask, I would say if we done the treatment I told you before, 6 to 8 months with new make inside, then a new cask is maybe 3 to 4 years in our climate. But if it's down in another climate where it's colder or even not as big temperature variations, if we would put it in Scotland where it's probably around 17 degrees and rain all year around, it could take a longer time inside the barrel than in High Coast area, because we got quite quick maturation. And that's for new oak. If we take a whiskey that's been used one time, or a cask that's been used one time, then it prolongs. So then it takes longer time, around 1.5 times the first fill. So if it's inside for 3 years, then 4.5 for next, then so on, I would say.
I have also a little nerd question, since we have you here, because you talked about the angel share, and you also said that you have big changes in climate. You have very cold winters.
Yep.
And obviously you don't have super hot summers, but you have summer. So, but you also said that your angel share, your evaporation rate through the cask is not that high.
Yep.
Isn't usually a big change in temperature linked to a high evaporation rate, or is that also because you said the humidity?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not because of the temperature variations. It's because of the humidity. If we have a very wet climate, then the whiskey, more liquid goes out of the barrel, and especially water goes out. So the ABV can rise. We see that this is in India and in a lot of American bourbon distilleries as well. They fill at maybe 63.5 and they bottle at 70. So it just keeps on going up the ABV, because more water develops from the cask than whiskey, and the angels are quite thirsty when it's like this. And if it's super, super dry, we have quite dry climate here. It's not super humid. Then we don't lose as much liquid to the angels. So humidity is more of angel share. Of course, we also get a little bit more leakage when we have this things happening inside the cask, but that's not really angel share. That is just leakage. It's a little bit different thing, I would say.
Because in my head, I would have thought that a dry climate would lead to a higher evaporation rate. It just feels more logical to my head. So a humid doesn't, like in my head, I would feel humid means there's not a lot of evaporation. If it's like Scotland is a quite humid country in terms of so that would mean that they would have a higher evaporation rate, but then again, probably their equal temperatures will
exactly the temperature and humidity, of course, works together. But it's mostly the humidity that gives a higher or lower angel share. The temperature variation gives more different tastes or what's happening inside the cask. So more different flavors that comes in and out of the oak. So
that is super interesting. Like I'm just quickly try to wrap my head around this in German. So, ich habe gerade nochmal gefragt, wie das mit der Zusammenhang ist zwischen Angel Share, also der Verdunstungsrate durch die Fasswand, unter anderem Temperatur und Feuchtigkeit, weil ich immer gedacht habe, dass die großen Temperaturunterschiede zwischen kalt und warm dazu führen, dass das Fass besonders schnell atmet und dann viel Flüssigkeit verliert, also viel Wasser und auch Alkohol. Und was ich aber jetzt gerade nochmal besser verstanden habe, ist, dass das in Kombination mit der Luftfeuchtigkeit nochmal einen großen Unterschied macht. Also dass gerade die Länder, die eine hohe Luftfeuchtigkeit haben, dass dort mehr Wasser verdunstet und dadurch der Alkoholgehalt sogar steigen kann bei einer großen Schwankung, während die Länder, die eher trocken sind, wohl eher eine höhere Verdunstungsrate vom Alkohol haben und dadurch eben auch Alkohol verloren geht im Fass. Also das, was wir eher kennen aus Schottland oder aus Schweden in dem Fall, aber dass in Schottland die Verdunstungsrate nicht so hoch ist, weil die Schwankungen nicht so groß sind. Das ist quasi nochmal ein Zusammenhang, den ich gerade sehr interessant fand. Wie gesagt, Fassreifung, super nerdiger Kram, kann man sich lange mit aufhalten. Okay, cheers. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, I was
everyone. Sorry.
For a PowerPoint for it, but I couldn't find it. If I find it, I will share it with you.
Yeah.
But it's mostly it's about liquids want to be in balance on the inside and the outside of the cask. It's really what it's all about. So if it's humid on the outside, it can stay humid on the inside, and if it's dry on the outside, it wants to go out. So it changes a little bit on this. But
yeah,
I will see if I find it. I can send it to you later, and you will see the things how it works together.
Yeah, cool. Right. How is everybody? You can maybe comment just a quick. How is your glass? Are we empty? Should we go to the timmer? No, there's still some whiskey in Jan's glass, or is that the next one?
Sorry, that's already the next one.
Yeah, that's okay. That's my man. That's what I thought. I also have the timber here in my glass, and I keep smelling it, and I really want to bite in this because it's very smoky. So I love this. I love smoky stuff. Yeah. So because the thing is, like when we started before, when we did the check, the technical checkup before the live stream, I told Lars that this tasting will probably be anything between 2 hours and 2.5 hours. And we are actually quite quick. It's we are in 1 hour and 25 minutes, and we are already with the fifth whiskey. And the thing is, like with you guys here, Tom and Jan, I can a little bit see where you are, but with all the other people out there, I don't know if their glasses are full or empty. So this is also a bit of a tricky thing when I do tastings that people are not in front of me, because my personal drinking pace, I think, is a bit quicker, and I don't pour probably as much. This is really a bit cloudy. I love this. So that's why I'm sometimes asking if people want to move on or not. So yeah, let's dive in the Timmer. I can't wait.
So Timmer is basically the peated version of Elv. 100% bourbon cask, but it's our peated recipe instead of non-peated. So this one we make more of a Scottish Islay style. Should be a little bit peaty, smoky, of course. But like I said before, our stills, where we have the boiling bowl, we get so much reflux, and it purifies the whiskey, and we don't get the really, really heavy phenols inside. So it's still, even if this is same peatiness level, it's around 39 to 46 ppm most of the times, and it's the same as Lagavulin, Kulila, Lafroig, but it's much, much more elegant. It's not this really, really heavy torf that you can find inside the other ones.
Yes, I would agree.
You have batch 3.
Yes,
right?
We are on batch 3. Exactly.
Yeah. That was done in 2020, 10/26. So in October, almost 5 years ago, we bottled it, and it's 39 ppm. The youngest is 6.93, and the oldest is 7.93. So it's average age is 7.2.
Can you tell me the age again?
6.93 is the youngest, and the oldest is 7.93. So 7.2 years in average age, but yeah. I'm not a really big lover of peated whiskey. I tend to drink more peated whiskey in the winter time. So soon, maybe when the snow arrives, I will pick out my peated whiskey.
Yeah.
But this one I really, really enjoy. It's super, super elegant and nice vanilla flavors from the cask, but also a little bit of like lime or lemon zest, and it's a nice whiskey.
Yeah, I always get a little bit of gebrannte Mandeln, we call it in Germany. It's sugared almonds.
Yeah,
like
sugar-coated almonds, like you get in the markets in the winter time.
Exactly, like there's a little nutty note and a little sour note, which would look like grapefruit or something like that. So yeah.
I almost get a little bit of ash in the finish on this one.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a little bit dry and lemon and ash.
I think this is probably sorry.
Sorry, this is also 48 ppm, 48% ABV.
Yes. Yeah. I feel this is a really good bridge between Sweden and Scotland, because it's Scottish malt, if I'm correct. Or you said Belgium also sometimes gives you some peated malt, but
yes, I would actually say that your batch is Belgian malt.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Because it's 39 ppm, and we have never bought 39 ppm from Scotland. We only got that from Belgium.
But do you know how Belgium gets their peat for smoking?
It's Scottish peat.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I would say all of our peated malt, it's Highland peat. We have tried to get Islay peat for many, many years and tried to buy it, but it's more or less impossible to get hold on. So most of the peated world whiskey you can find, it's Highland malt or Highland peat, and then malted in different areas.
Yeah, it's I think most of the peat that is used in international whiskey is from, I always forget the name, I think it's Ferguson. It's
Yeah.
somewhere in Aberdeenshire where I used to live.
Yeah.
I used to live in Banff and
Okay.
Turrick, which is like in the middle of nowhere between Aberdeen and Inverness. So when I worked for Glendronach, and a lot of peat is produced there. For example, Glendronach or Tomintoul uses a lot of peat from them. But most distilleries outside of Scotland that will use peat use this peat. Like you said, it's the one that is accessible. Isla peat is very hard to come by, which makes a lot of sense because this one to me smells and tastes a little bit like the Tomintoul. How's it called? Jesus, my brain. There's a Old Bellantron. Its name.
Oh yeah.
It's a whiskey I quite like from Tomintoul. Usually Tomintoul is a bit too soft for me. 40%, it's a bit too thin for my personal taste. But the Old Bellantron is 50% and unchill filtered, and it reminds me a little bit of this whiskey.
Yeah,
just in my head.
Could very well be from the same peat bog.
Yeah, it's a good bridge for people that like to drink Scottish whiskey and want to try something different and want to broaden their horizon. And I generally think that High Coast is actually a really good entry distillery for leaving Scotland in terms of there's a lot of people, I come across a lot of people that say, I only drink single malt Scotch whiskey. And I personally understand it also, even though I personally think it's a bit sad because I think there's so much great whiskey in the world to explore. But I get it, and I understand the love for Scotland. I have a huge attachment to this country and the people and the whiskey industry also. But I think it's always great if people now and then try something different and try to explore something outside of Scotland, so that when I do videos or tastings, I always also try to view from the viewpoint of people that only drink single malt Scotch whiskey, and then recommend something that they can try that is not too far away from Scotch whiskey to get the next step on the journey to something else. And I think the Timor is a really good place to do that.
Yeah,
if you like peated whiskey,
I totally agree. And we have never thought about making a Swedish whiskey. It's not what we want to do. We don't want to use only Swedish things or ingredients, or we just happen to be Swedish and living in Sweden. But our love for whiskey is from Scotland and Japan and different places. So it's we just happen to be living in Sweden and wanting to make a whiskey.
I think this is a very interesting thing, Lars, that you say that, because I think that there is, like, generally speaking, worldwide, two approaches. Either way, you how do I put this politely? There are some distilleries that make Scotch whiskey outside of Scotland, or Scotch style whiskey outside of Scotland, which is not a bad thing because it's obviously they're doing something correctly and there's great whiskey. And then there's distilleries that on purpose try to do something else and try to do something more individual or more like local in terms of, for example, I traveled a lot through Denmark, and the Danes are Danish people are quite fond of their local stuff. They do use their local barley and their local peat. Pardon?
A lot of rye as well instead of barley.
Yes. Great. So I will have a tasting at the weekend also with High Coast and a Scandinavian whiskey tasting. So there's High Coast in there, and there's also Sal from Denmark, which is a very small farm distillery, making a whiskey made from Danish peat, which excites me personally a lot because it's quite rare, to do that. But I also really appreciate this, what you just said, the fact that it not necessarily needs to be a completely different approach, but still be you, but still be individual, but still be High Coast. Because I also feel that you guys, I would put you guys in the category of making Scottish style whiskey in another country. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just something that happens in my head, to place distilleries in some sort of area. And what you just said makes a lot of sense. So you try to make great whiskey, the whiskey you like, the whiskey you think is really, really good, and you do your best to do that. And you don't try to scram anything in there that is just necessarily different, but maybe might not be good enough for what you want to do, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, that's totally correct. We have so many. I think there is 15 different whiskey distilleries in Sweden at the moment. Of course, most people in Germany and around knows about Mackmyra. They were almost 10 years before us when they started, so they have really, really helped us to put Swedish whiskey on the market, and also helped a lot with all the authorities in Sweden, because Sweden is quite a strict country with alcohol policies, and we have like 9 or 10 different authorities that we need to weekly, more or less, send emails to and tell them how much we did and how we did and why we did and everything. And it was not possible before Mackmyra started to do this. They really helped to produce whiskey in Sweden, but their view has been totally different to ours. I don't say that we are better or worse than them or anything, or want to compare us, because we have totally different ideals of what we want to do. Our idea has always been, we want to do the world's best whiskey. We just happen to be in Sweden, but we want to make the world's greatest whiskey. We haven't made it yet. Well, actually, we did last year when we was awarded the world whiskey in some competitions, but in my opinion, there is still better whiskey made. So we need more years, but we still have this aim to produce the best quality that we can. For Mackmyra, they wanted to make a Swedish whiskey, so they would only use Swedish ingredients and everything to make their whiskey. So they totally different approach. For us, if we find something that we like from another country, a new type of yeast or whatever, we will use it if we think it will make the whiskey better.
I would agree here with the Dram experience. He sorry about that, says that the provenance is there, for example, by using Swedish oak. And I couldn't agree more, because when you poured me on our tour, you poured me a sample of a 100% Swedish oak matured High Coast that totally blew my mind, and it convinced me even more that I like the half, because the half contains some Swedish oak matured whiskey, which is much more depth, spicy, like you said, nutmeg. There's loads of nutmeg in there. And I love this kind of whiskey. So, I mean, I think it's not possible to make a whiskey without any sort of provenance.
No.
You know, whiskey always is a footprint, has always a footprint. So,
But for us, it's not about being Swedish in that we just happen to be in Sweden. It's really, of course, we take great pride in having the wonderful nature and everything we have around us, and the climate really helps us to make the whiskey we are making. We would have to do things different if we would have the same temperature all year round, or really, really high temperature, or then we would have to change some factors in how we distill and how we mature. But the way we are doing it right now, it's a way that we really like, and we really like to have the 4 different types of like spring and summer and the seasons. That was the word I was looking for. In Sweden, it's very, very strong different type of seasons, which is lovely if you like the different style. I could never live in a country where it's always like California or something. It's always warm and sunny. Yeah, it's fine for a week, but then I get bored. So
Yes, absolutely agree. Before we go into the next question, I just want to comment on your very humble comment that you are not there yet. I personally would disagree. I think that the whiskey from High Coast, I tasted High Coast 6 or 7 years ago when there was a Dalf and I think an Elf.
Yep.
And by that time, I felt it's already quite good, but it will need a little bit more time. And now that I visited this distillery this year, I feel that you are more than ready and more than market ready on my personal feel and my personal opinion. But to finish off that comment with a question, do you feel that age is a key factor for quality in whiskey? Because it's quite a controversial issue, and I have a different opinion about that maybe, but how's your take on that?
I would say it depends on what flavors you want. Some flavors you cannot get without time. For instance, the really like tropical fruity notes. Those happen when esters in the spirit goes into the wood and react with some acids inside the oak, and then they produce other estery. So it goes and become a new ester, and this takes time, and it needs oxygen inside the cask to happen. So it's normally around 15-20 years in a cask. Then you get a lot of these really nice fruity tropical pineapple notes. I love them. I have found them in maybe 1 or 2 High Coast so far, but not really strong as in a lot of older whiskey where I can find it a lot. And I love this type of whiskeys. Normally second fill bourbon cask where you really get the distillate to shine through as well. But so time is important. I think people tend to, or consumer tend to look a little bit too much for age on bottles. Age is just a number. It tells how old the youngest whiskey is. And as you can see, we are very transparent. We tell everything online. We don't need to put that a whiskey is 11 years old or something really big. We have done it as well, and we will probably do it a little bit more on some things, but we will still tell everything on our homepage. It's too much information to put on the bottle.
Yeah,
still
absolutely. Yeah.
Nice and clean. So we have a little bit different approach. I know that a lot of consumers, they go in and they see, oh, this whiskey has 10 years on, and this one has 8 years. Oh, the 10-year-old must be better. Maybe the 10-year-old is a sherry cask peated, and the 8-year-old is a non-peated on bourbon, and you don't like peated whiskey. Go for the 8-year-old. You will probably like it better.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, yeah.
hard.
It's a great answer. Like, I mean, the thing is, like, we could talk about this for ages, but I think people are waiting for the last whiskey. But let's just finish with one last comment about this, because I think it's a really interesting and big issue. Might be something for a podcast as well. Because I feel that there's a lot of people out there who tend to go to age statements for the single reason that it's a very easy, approachable information that I can go behind. 8, 10, 12, 15, 21. And the more you know about whiskey and the more whiskey you drink, you understand that your personal taste will also be influenced by the age. And as you exactly said, there are some flavors that you will only find in some sort of aged whiskey at a certain point. But I also look at whiskey in terms of marketing and how people understand a product. And obviously this is one way of communicating some sort of quality, but I feel it's also a bit dangerous to say, look, this is a 15-year-old whiskey, therefore it's a good whiskey. Yeah. Or therefore it's a better whiskey than the younger whiskey, because that's not my experience. Yeah. As we have I mean, personally today, the half is my personal favorite of the whiskey. It's a no age statement. We know it's roughly 6 to 7 years old. But I also have to say, when I drink the Founder's Reserve, 11 years old, I can taste and smell that this is a much more refined, deeper aged whiskey. So you can tell the difference. Is it worth the money difference? I think that's individual taste.
Yep.
So that's what I would say. In the end of the day, I think you can always buy great whiskey from, like, the Aurora is like 40 euros. So you can buy a 40 euro whiskey from High Coast now, which is a great whiskey. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can if you like something else more. So I would say, do you want to jump into the last one?
Sure. I will just answer the question. The non-smoked barley is not from the area. In this area, we are not yet able to grow barley. It's a little bit too cold up here. It's getting warmer every year. So with global warming, maybe in 5 or 6 years, we will be able to have local barley outside, but not yet. It's produced in the southern part of Sweden, in Blekinge, Småland, Skåne. Those three is the main producer. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I think that's another good example of what you just said, of the story that gets huge. My nerd brain gives you a huge heart for explaining that the terms of we just happen to be in Sweden, what you mentioned before, because it's just like this. It doesn't necessarily need to be local to be good. On the other hand, local is great, and I really appreciate if distillery do local. But then again, like you said, sometimes it's just not possible or even sensible to do something local. If you get the better barley from south of Sweden, why use another one? So it makes a lot of sense. And I think this is exactly the thing, what people that are passionate, and I'm really happy that people join us tonight to have this impression, this experience, these discussions, that sometimes it's about quality, and then you have to compromise with something else like locality. And sometimes you say, look, I want to be as local as possible, and then I have to find a way to make as good whiskey as I can from what I have locally. Maybe I have to compromise on some of the quality aspects. So that's a game everybody has to play, and everybody has to choose their story, what they want to do. And so your way is basically to say, we feel we want to make that product, and we want to make it as great as possible, and we don't really want to be limited by regional things. So, Tom, is it okay if I share your comment? Because I think you wrote that in the private chat. Is it okay? Just give me a thumbs up or anything if I share that in the commentary. So Tom said here, sometimes I felt that a 10-year in a first fill ex-bourbon is better matured than a 12 or a 15-year-old second or third fill ex-bourbon barrel, because the first fill is more active. And I guess it's also does a difference how much the cask was toasted. Yeah, absolutely, certainly. Do you want to comment on that?
Sure. Yeah. This is one of the things we experiment with a lot. It's different toasting levels, and also, of course, how many times we fill the casks. Normally, a whiskey cask is used in Scotland 7 times. That's the normal use of a whiskey cask in a barrage. But we need to take in as well that this is mostly used for blended whiskey, and the law states that to be called whiskey, it needs to be inside a barrel for 3 years. It doesn't really say that you need to get a flavor or anything from the cask. So a lot of the times they use the barrel 40, 50 times just to be able to call it whiskey. You will not get anything from the cask. It's just a statement by the law. At High Coast, we use the cask mainly 2 times. We use third fill or second fill if it's new oak as well. Sometimes, but that's for longer maturation. So it's something that we want to have for a lot longer time. Let's see. Does it different how much the cask was toasted? Yeah. It gives a lot of difference on toasting levels, and you also get different flavors from different toasting levels. So you can get a lot of spicy notes if you do a heavy toast. If you do a light toast, you will get much more coconut and caramel notes. It takes a longer time to mature a whiskey that is lightly toasted than a heavily toasted one, or even a charred one where it's burning. Then you get much more purified and more flavors from the oak. So this is something I could speak about in 2 more hours, because this is really something we experiment with a lot, and this is a way to really give flavors to the whiskey quite quickly and quite easily. So it's a good tool in the toolbox, I would say. I will go into the Oloroso Peated one that you have in the glass now, the last whiskey of the night, or at least in the tasting. Maybe you will be drinking more after this. I have no idea. But this one is a new series that we started with this bottle. So we call it the special release. It's when we find something in the warehouse that we think this is very special and very nice.
Oh boy.
We can bottle it in this series. So this one was the first one, and we put the 11 years old on this, and it's peated and in Oloroso cask. It's been for 5.8, I think, years in first fill bourbon cask, and then was transferred into Oloroso casks. And the Oloroso casks are from American oak. Normally, sherry cask is 250 liters. This is a little bit special cask that was made for us, so it's 200-liter casks instead for our sherry. So we get a little bit more connection with the wood as well.
Sorry guys, I'm getting lost here. This is I had this whiskey on the festival and it blew my mind. I tasted it and I immediately thought, like, I definitely want to include this in a tasting in Germany. So this is great stuff.
It's a nice one. This one is Scottish peat inside and Scottish malt. So it's 45 ppm, and we did 2,700 something, 80 something bottles of this. So it's much more limited release than the ones we tried before. So this is really something special. Should be. We just released, I think it was actually last week, this year's. So the second one in this edition. So it's a non-peated 12-year-old on American oak. Also a really nice whiskey. So it's the 2025 edition. But if you like peat, then this one is a nice one. It's also quite interesting to compare the timber and this one. It's the same recipe, but it's quite different since the cask is different. I feel like the timber, even though it's 39 ppm and this one is 45 ppm, I still feel that the peat is more visible in the timber in this one.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say so.
I think the sherry and the sweet fruity notes, it covers a lot of the peatiness as well. The bourbon cask is much more straightforward, and you get more of the distillate inside.
Yeah, this and the Berg will be in the tasting on Saturday.
Nice.
For the ones that like peat.
Yeah.
I'm actually, for the first time in my life, I will give people the option if they want to choose smoky or non-smoky. So if they don't like the smoky one, they can try the Founders Reserve. And I'm really curious because these people are quite They know me for a while. I've been doing tastings with them for years now. So they're like my private tasting panel to give feedback on products.
That's great.
I'm really curious to show them all of this stuff. It's great. So since we're right now on the last whiskey for tonight, I would really be interested if everybody wants to join in the chat and maybe tell us your favorite whiskey of the night, or if you want to, I'm always a big fan of this. So you can rate your whiskey maybe from your favorite to your least favorite whiskey. And obviously, no offense taken. Everybody has their own opinion and their own personal taste. So this one is available in Germany. Actually, as I mentioned earlier, you can also, in theory, or actually not in theory, you can buy this whiskey at the moment from me up until Saturday when it will be in a tasting, and maybe after that also. But I only have the bottles mainly right now. But I think it is available outside of my place in Germany also. The recommended retail price is, I think, 128 euros, roughly something short under 130 euros in Germany. And this is a 70 cl bottle. The Founder's Reserve is a 50 cl bottle, so this is the bigger one. So this is so to speak the same price as the Founder's Reserve. So this is the Founder's Reserve, the bourbon cask matured. And this is the 11 years old. They're both 11 years old. PT Sherry, bourbon cask, slightly peated. They're both same priced, but the special release Peated Oloroso cask has a 70 cl. So it's a lower price, obviously, than the other one compared directly. So these are the ones that are currently. I'm not sure if you can buy the Founder's Reserve in Germany. I haven't seen it anywhere. Do you know that?
I think we used to have it on. Let me see. I know that Dine Whiskey had it before, but I'm not sure if they still have stock left of it. I will check and see.
And by the way, to give you guys a really, I personally like to watch my weird brain work. I'm not a good salesman, and I'm not doing this for selling whiskey because I really enjoy just hanging out with you guys and doing this tasting. Obviously, I'm doing this for the tasting, and I sell these tastings to try to make a living. So that is obviously something. I'm just mentioning this because my favorite whiskey of tonight is quite undoubtedly the half, and that's the only one that I don't have here anymore for sales. So that's the thing. Like I'm not doing this for sales. It's just like I can probably order more, and I actually will order more because I like this so much. I think that the half and the Berg are the ones that I will work with on long term. So after the festival, I just wanted to have the full range here. But these are the two that I think are really, really good for showing people your profile, showing people what you can do. And I personally also really like the Elf. But I think it's to hook people on something special. I think the Berg and the Half are really, really good ones in terms of look what Sweden can do, look what High Coast can do. Obviously, I'm excluding the two specials right now, like the 11 years old. They're more than special, obviously, but they're also in a very different price range. So, So Marcus says his favorite is the 11-year-old Oloroso, the last one. Then the Timmer, the Berg, and the Half. Interesting. So Marcus likes PT whiskey also, obviously, quite a lot. So Dram Experience, my ranking, number 2, which is the Founder's Reserve. Understand that. Oloroso Peated, so he likes the 11-year-old both the best. Then number 4, which is the Berg. Number 3, which is the Half, I think. The 5 is that's
right. And 5 is Timmer.
Yeah, 5 Timmer, and then the first one. Okay, yeah. I can totally get behind that rating also. And like I said, it's not about good or worse. It's just about personal experience, personal taste, personal preference. So I'm always curious about these things.
I know that we will be in some whiskey tastings coming up in Germany quite soon. We will be in, is it called Inter Whiskey in Wiesbaden?
Yes, it's a
Um,
pretty big whiskey exhibition in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is anyone in that's quite close to Frankfurt, I guess, if you're in that area, just come along and try some more High Coast and other great whiskeys. You're going there. You can meet my friend and colleague Jonas. He will go there, and I will go to Bremen in December for the bottle. I think it's called bottle show.
Bottle market.
Bottle market. Yeah.
Lars, that is actually perfect timing, because now I can announce to the few great people who are here in this live stream that I will be on the bottle market also. So the two of us will see us definitely there, and everybody who will be in Bremen for the bottle market. I just included the link from for deinwhisky.de, where you can look at the High Coast 11 euros followers. I'm just still mentioning you can also buy it from me, and I will ship it also for free for the same price. So that's just that's just mentioned. But yes, I will certainly all be on the bottle market. I think I'm not sure if I want to announce with whom, but I think I can sort of because I will certainly do that quite soon, because a couple of things have to be rearranged. But I will be there with 3 Scandinavian distilleries for the first time. I will not be just by myself in terms of my brands, but I will be by myself, but I will be representing 3 distilleries from Scandinavia. And I'm really looking forward to that. So Lars, I'm looking forward to see you there in person again.
That's great.
Everybody else who's not hasn't planned yet, check out the bottle market in Bremen, so you can see both of us in person.
It's 12th, 13th December, I think.
Yes, 12th
Yeah.
and 13th. Yeah.
We will see each other.
Great.
I have to say about I'm really I taste great whiskey. You're not a grey mouse. You know, there are we are talking about a lot of new distilleries, and they all taste, a lot of them taste boring, I have to say, and a little bit the same. And I had great whiskey from you tonight. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you so much, Jan. I'm happy to hear.
Yes, I'm also quite happy to hear that, Jan. It's great. I'm very, very happy also to have events like this online. So many people from many places in Germany and all over the place can come together. And I'm really happy that you could also join us from the Netherlands. We have friends in Spain also watching, so this is great. And this is basically, it feels a bit like Lars. I really have to give you a really big thank you for tonight, because I think this is like what Malt Mariners was and is to me. It's a tasting business and a YouTube channel also. But to me, Malt Mariners is more like an idea of bringing people from everywhere together through whiskey, and whiskey has always been the tool for me to have conversations, to connect with people, to travel different countries. I don't know how many people I've met, how many places I've slept, and how many countries I've visited because of whiskey. I slept in my camper van for 3 days next of your distillery, because Roger was kind enough to let us stay there for a couple of nights after the festival. And this is the perfect example for the international whiskey community, and why I love the whiskey community so much, because there's so many great people there. And I can just say thank you so much for being here tonight, for sharing your fantastic whiskeys with us, for giving us insights, and sharing your story and your whiskey with us. It's really, really great. I had a blast. I hope that everybody else here had half the time as I had, because I really love this. So I'm pretty sure we won't see you for the last time, Lars. and I'm pretty sure this won't be the last international tasting I will be doing on a live stream, because there's a lot of things happening right now, and I'm thinking about what to do next. But this is something that is a lot of fun. I really love doing this stuff. So
yeah. It's been really great to take part, and I'm really happy to be able to let you try some High Coast whiskey and tell you the stories around High Coast, and especially share the whiskey and the companionship for an evening. That's always nice. Whiskey should be drink among friends. That's really why we do it.
yes, and it's very much appreciated. Like Jan shared the story that he actually has a bottle of your whiskey at home from friends, and I think this is the perfect example of how whiskey should be, and how whiskey should be communicated, and how what whiskey is to people like me and you, like people who are passionate about this and are building their lives around whiskey. And I think it's a great example. So yeah, thank you for sharing. So just letting you out with a little bit of impression of this great distillery. And if anyone is in Sweden, I would certainly recommend visiting you guys.
Yeah.
And
if you don't have a camper, we have some bed and breakfasts and some hotels nearby, which is possible. We have a list on our homepage. I think it might be only in Swedish at the moment, that site. We are building the homepage in German at the moment. So we will soon have a German site as well available. So it will be more easy for you to find a way to us as well. And during the summer, it's open all days. And we have guided tours and restaurant and great bar. So it's really nice. It's very, very good food as well. I think Liam would agree.
absolutely. Even if you don't drink whiskey, if you're a foodie, certainly go to the restaurant. It's really, really good. I had the best meat tartare at your place. That was absolutely mind-blowing. So yeah, certainly worth a visit.
Yeah.
Right, Lars, I think that's us for tonight.
Great.
Once again, thank you so much for being here and sharing your whiskey and this night with us. That was a blast. I had a really good night, and
Thank you so much as well.
Yeah.
It's great. Cheers.
see you guys down the road. See you next time. Ihr Lieben, bis später. Und ich gebe mir auf jeden Fall Mühe, dass es weitere Tastings dieser Art geben wird. Ich glaube, das ist wirklich ein ganz tolles Konzept, weil ich merke, dass mein Herz aufgeht, hier mit so vielen tollen Menschen zusammenzusitzen und über Whisky zu sprechen, mit Menschen, die Whisky machen. Das ist ganz, ganz toll. I just said again that I'm really having a great impression that this is a really something that I want to do more. This is a really good thing. And whenever things feel right, it's a good sign that you should do it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much, and I see you in Bremen.
See you in Bremen, Jan. I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Bye now.
Cheers.
Cheers, Tom.